Welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be replacing these old dimmer switches with new ones. As you can see, they do work. However, it is time to replace them with new, better dimmer switches. We just repainted the whole room, including the ceiling, so it's perfect time to replace the dimmer switches with these Lutron LED Diva dimmer switches. So let's get started and show you how it's done. As always, before starting any electrical work, turn off the power to the room or the switch first. And it goes without saying that if you're not sure about electrical work, please get a professional to do the job. With the power off, doing a check to make sure there's no power coming to the switches. It's always good practice to do a final check to make sure there's no live wires behind the switches. I'm going to release the old switches by just cutting through the wires. I'm also going to tape the wires that went to one switch together, so when we replace the new switch, we don't get confused. And that's what the old switch looks like. There's two black wires going into it, and it was configured as a single pole switch, meaning it's the only switch that controls the light in the room. We're going to replace these switches with this new Lutron Dimmer Switch. It's a LED Diva dimmer switch. We got it from the big box store. Not very expensive, so if you want to check it out, I'll put a link in the description of the video. The instructions are pretty clear. There's instruction for a single pole install or a three-way install. We are going to install it as a single pole because there is only one switch in the room that controls the light. As you can see, the instructions are pretty clear. The two black wires from the wall will connect to the red and black wires on the switch, and the red and white wire on the switch we don't need, and it will be terminated with a blue cap. And then we're going to connect the ground wires. A closer look at the new switch. The red and white wire we don't need, we're going to cap that. And there is the ground wire, which is green, the red, and then the black wire. We're going to strip both the black wires that is connecting to one of the switches we're going to install. Again, they're both black wires going to the same switch. It doesn't really matter which black wire connects to which wire on the new switch. Per the instructions for a single pole install, we're going to cap the red and white wire with a blue cap. First, we're going to hook up the ground wire from the switch to the ground wire coming out of the wall. We're going to pigtail it and then put a cap on it. In our situation, the two black wires coming from the wall will be connected to the two wires on the switch, and in our case it really doesn't matter which black wire from the wall connects to the wire on the switch. When connecting electrical wires, my recommendation is always pigtail them and then put a cap on it. Off camera, I also hooked up the second dimmer switch the same way as I did the first one, and now I'm just going to put everything back together. We'll be using this new switch plate from Lutron. I'll put a link in the description of the video if you're interested. The way it works is that the bottom plate has 4 screws on it, and the bottom plate mounts onto the dimmer switches, and then you basically snap on the top plate. As you can see, the dimmer switches have 4 mounting holes on it, and we're going to screw on the bottom plate first. However, as you can see, the dimmer switches are too far apart and they're not lining up with the wall plate. In order to get around that, we have to bring the 2 dimmer switches closer together. To bring the switches closer together, we have to snap off the tabs from both the switches. When you remove the tabs or the fins on the dimmer switch, you're basically derating the switches. And what that means is that you're reducing the maximum capacity that the dimmer switch can effectively handle once the fins are removed. And in my situation in this room, there shouldn't be an issue removing the fins. Every situation is different, so consult an electrician if you're not sure. With the fins removed on just one side of each dimmer switch, we can put it all back together again. Now that the 2 switches are closer together, we should be able to mount the bottom plate. With all that done, we are ready to turn on the power and test it out. As always, if you enjoyed the content, please think of subscribing to the channel, as well as leaving a like, a comment, and share the video. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.